from a man being domestically violent is something that is, they're both wrong, but it's something that I wouldn't risk. So that's
I'm gonna have Matthew reply to this in a second. But do you think a relationship can truly repair and heal after someone has cheated? Or do you think
not when a woman cheats?
When a woman cheats, you think it's a lot harder, or you just don't think it's possible?
Not possible.
Really?
Yeah, I would honestly say, from what I see, every time a man forgives a woman cheating, she eventually leaves him for forgiving her.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that? It's just because of lack of self-respect?
She understands now that there is no boundaries to this relationship. Most women are under the impression a man would leave. Men tend to think that women can be a bit softer and emotional and they can kind of convince them. Whereas women tend to assume men will leave because that's what they tell each other. Oh, I would never put up with it. I would never put up with it. So when she learns he's willing to accept the unacceptable, she now realizes unacceptable behavior will run with him. And therefore, there is no motivator to prevent it happening again. So
Ooh. Man, this is your favorite dating and relationship coach. Welcome to Dark Arts podcast once more. We got a question today. Listen, if a woman cheats, it's all over. Never take her back. Is that the case? I want to say this be very frank. This conversation is an amazing conversation. We'll do a part 2 as well, right? Can I be honest with you? My honest sentiment is that in most cases, yes, don't take her back. And that's maybe me being biased and me being as a man. The reason why I'm saying don't take her back is because once she gets to a place of physicality, the impression that man leaves on her is often one that is very difficult to remove. Here's my thing. I'm yet to see it. And let me just say it again. I'm yet to see a woman who has cheated after her man's, sex game is on point. I'm yet to see it. Maybe it does happen in other circles who are freaky deaky, but I think the common man, common woman, a woman who gets her needs met by her husband or partner, it rarely you see that cheating happen physically outside. She might want to emotionally cheat, but sexually, that's a risk. You understand what I'm saying to you? And also for us as men, the way that we look at things in most cases is that the Bible says obviously that the woman is an extension of your glory. So she is your glory, right? See the treasure in your kingdom. So when that woman goes out into another kingdom, I'm putting it that way, right? You are, and she ends up sleeping with the king over there. I don't want to say it in the most heinous of ways, but it almost is like he's left his imprint on her now. So it's very difficult for her to come back. 2 things: for you to accept her again, and for her to also come back and be willing to work it out with you. Now, I think in most cases, you go out there and you experience something, unless the thing was poor. Yeah, her coming back, it ain't gonna work, right? And I do agree with Sadia in a lot of this, but I do feel like this conversation runs in a particular way that I don't particularly like, which is that I don't like mad generalizations without there being context or conversation. It's just not how I'm built. But in a general sense, I do understand what she's saying, that as a woman, especially with the society how we are right now, as a woman taking her time to go and cheat outside of a relationship, it's hard to come back, baby. It's hard to come back. It's hard to come back. That's what I'm going to say. But let's watch a bit more of the video. You know what I mean? And we'll break it down some more.
I've always seen, again, I have to preface this, I see worst case scenarios, but I've always seen it become a repeat offender. I'm not saying men don't do it the same way, but I'm just saying in my experience of seeing when women cheat, you're simply waiting for her to leave you now.
So maybe you could stay in a relationship, but it's just not going to be a healthy, committed relationship. There might be more.
I think one thing men underestimate is how loyal we are to the person we believe gives us the most sexual satisfaction.
Eesh. Can I be honest with you? Okay, so obviously I've been in the streets before, innit? I was in Egypt for a couple of years. Let me just say that now. Spiritual Egypt, not literal. Spiritual Egypt. While I was out there, I did some things I shouldn't be doing, okay? I slept with certain people that I shouldn't be sleeping with. Just be honest with you, I slept with certain girls who had a boyfriend, okay? Now, most of them I slept with, okay, were emotionally checked out of the relationship already, right? They weren't sleeping with me when they were actively emotionally contained in a relationship, which is why I agree with what Sadia is saying here. When women tend to, not always, tend to step out, they've already emotionally drifted from the relationship, and then the sexual aspect comes out, right? Tend to. The problem we have with men stepping out is that a lot of men too are actually not emotionally attached to the woman they're actually with in the first place, right? They quickly can do the cheating because they weren't as emotionally connected to the partner in the very first place. But that's another conversation another day. But let's stick to the women. So in this situation, the woman is often checked out. So when she's now sleeping with that other person, right? She needed an excuse and a reason to get out. That man just became the excuse and the reason. So I totally understand what she's saying. The love is pretty much gone from that relationship, and that woman's at her very wit's end anyway. So to now have a situation where she goes back is very difficult, because even if she goes back, especially if the sex was good, can I just be real with you? Especially if the sex was good, going back is gonna be a mad thing. Absolute mad thing. Listen, when I got cheated on, I'm gonna be honest with you. I got cheated on, kind of cheated on. Let's be honest, my sex wasn't hitting. I'm not gonna lie to you. So you know, when she came back, I couldn't even go back anywhere. I just couldn't do it. It wasn't for me. But I would say that it would be very difficult to come back, because you already, and this is why cheating is so dangerous, because if you experience something so good, and remember, I think with sex between men and women is very different, right? In the sense of men usually do the penetrating, and men can easily acclimatize, right? They can acclimatize, they can easily climax. So for us, when it comes to sex, it's hard to say, oh, that girl was the best sex ever, or this girl was the best sex ever. We can talk about those things, yes. But in reality, the experience of sex, we climax most times. But for a lot of women, it's not always the case. What is it? 40% of women climax through penetration. You meet a man out there that can make you climax, we got a trouble. And if he even gets you close, or if the sex is just on point, it's hot, it's raw, it's red, the chemistry is on point, going back now to someone where it's not the same level, it's gonna be very difficult. And then you don't love him too, and then try to get back in love with him, yeah, it's long.
There are
Is this
women. Yeah, we are.
Say that again.
Women are incredibly loyal to the man that gives us the most sexual satisfaction.
Really, over like financial security or safety or providing status.
A lot of the time they can be. I'm not saying all of the time, but a lot of the time they can be. I know women who will wait for a man who's in jail simply because, not because he's the best, but she's all he knows. Since she's been with him, she hasn't touched another human being. So that's all she knows.
You know what? There's some truth to what she's saying. I'm not going to say that she's all the way true. I think, again, I like nuance and I like context, but there is some truth to what she's saying, in the sense of, and that's what we talk about, this imprint, right? That the man that hit it the best is a problem. And it's not the first. Some of you think, oh, because the guy hit it first. No. It's he who hit it the best. Now, of course, obviously, if it's the first person you ever slept with, and that's the only person you ever slept with, then yeah, it's going to be a different story. But it's going to be he who hit it the best that she gonna have that loyalty to, in the sense of that's the person that has her mind locked in a particular way, not all the way, in a particular way. Do you get what I'm saying to you? But I'm not gonna say it's only women in that particular way, but yes, the majority of the time it's women, because the way that I don't know the science behind it. All I know is a practical behind it. The way that good sex changes a woman, the way she responds to you. Let me tell you something. As a man, it changes you too. Once you know how to make it go climax through penetration, right? The way you talk your ish after is completely different. The confidence you have is completely different. And that woman, the way she looks at you and talks to you is completely different. She no longer can say nothing mad to you, because the thing you can say to her, and I just mean this on a realist thing, is that, but you know that when I hit it, though, it's correct. She knows where to come to get the high. That's the problem with cheating. That's the problem with sexing other people. That's the problem with having multiple partners. This is why God said no. This is why I said, God, get a hold of your loins, because once you taste the forbidden fruit and it hits, it's hard to go back to. So you have to imagine, especially for women as well, and I keep saying it again, who don't often climax through penetration, or even if they don't climax at all in sex, because some of you are just so lazy as men. Let's be honest, some of you are lazy. This is going to be a problem, right? And so I can understand what she means by the sexual loyalty. Like, for instance, a guy that's in jail or whatever hasn't touched somebody else. Yes. So once she has sex with somebody else, that is now going to break that illusion or that disillusion that they may have in their mind.
And women that are like that, they're not as curious. That's all he knows. But when she's got that curiosity and she opens herself up to being pleased by other people, it becomes difficult to revert back to monogamy.
Really?
Yeah, it becomes very difficult.
I can be pleased by someone else as well, or maybe it's better or
different. It can be man or
or
woman. It could be man or woman. When you open that door up for her to unlock that part of her to somebody else, it becomes difficult to reverse. So I'm saying.
And we see this all the time, you know, when you people that do threesomes can open themselves up to this madness, but that's also men too. So let's not try to make it just women as well. But but I would say that, yes, when you open up Pandora's box, you are opening yourself up to other experiences, meaning that, now I can get different tastes or flavor from elsewhere. If you've been one tracked, you're solely staying here. And we know this, right? Before you were a virgin, if you were dating somebody, you wouldn't be looking elsewhere. But once you open yourself up to sex, you start to open yourself up to different experiences. You're like, I don't have to stay here. I can go elsewhere. It's like when you get your first ever girlfriend or boyfriend, and that's all you know. You're so locked into that person, like that you can't see anything else. When you break up and you finally get into another relationship, you're like, actually, the life doesn't end at this particular point. So yes, opening yourself to sexual experiences with other people is going to get you into trouble. Of course, it's going to make you more willing to go elsewhere because you know you can get something elsewhere. It's options, isn't it? Really and truly, isn't it? Really and truly. Let's be honest.
This from a female perspective, I would love to hear from a male perspective what it's like when it comes to cheating. But there is a lack of respect that comes afterwards, and there's a willingness to try again. And it just means she rarely stops because she's now checked out of the relationship.
I'm going to tell you the truth. Listen, the girls that I slept with, going back is just no going. You know what I'm saying? Too, like you're not gonna, because here's my thing as well. Listen, this is not me, just me being real. When I want to hit it in a particular way that you don't go back. That was my mindset when I was in Egypt. Thank God for Jesus saving my life and really changing my mindset, because I'm a changed man. And some of the stuff was stupid, but I wanted to hit it so that it goes to your brain. You know what I'm saying to you? That was my mission always, was to make sure that on that leaderboard, I'm climbing to the very top. So I'll make sure that do you know what I'm saying to you? And I know other goons are like that. They may not necessarily think that way, but their game is on point so much. You hit them, they ain't no going back, because they give us a level of satisfaction and pleasure that you don't want to go back. That's why I'm saying to you that for her to even get to that position, there has to be an emotional disconnect and drifting. It's very difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's very difficult for women to go back. So yes, again, once more, that respect aspect, for her to do that, there isn't much respect for that dude. Let's be honest. She's lost respect. Something has enabled that losing of respect. You know what I mean? Now, of course, we can talk about women that are, not very loyal, but again, there's attachment issues that come with that as well.
You think if a man cheats within a relationship, that he could stop cheating in that relationship?
It's difficult again.
It's difficult.
Yeah, I still think it's a difficult thing. I would say it's difficult. I don't know how definite it is, because it would have to come to a real understanding. He loses his family, but for women, it's just the potential of domestic violence that comes with it as well. I just think it's better to just let her go rather than hold her and then have so much rage. And
now Matthew looks like he's stuck. But I want to hear Matthew, because I already know what she's about being inevitable at the table. I want to hear what
That's
Matthew
why with the women that you work with, and I know women cheat that come to your retreats, or they're trying to heal and fix their broken heart and all these different things, repair from being cheated on, all these different things. Why do you think women cheat, or the ones that have communicated why they cheated? What's the main reason women cheat in a long-term relationship? And can a relationship repair after cheating occurs?
My guy,
you've heard from a lot of women.
Yeah,
I
don't know where to start here. I struggle immensely with the kind of way that this is being framed. The kind of, Sadia, the talk about women cheat because they don't respect their man, which I think even that is so many people cheat because they are craving an emotional connection, but they're not.
I have to be honest. Okay, so I do get what he's saying, and I get what she's saying, right? I think they're coming from the same. I think they're coming from the same tracks, but maybe just opposite ends, right? Because I get what she's saying. Like, a lot of women are going to cheat because they've lost respect for the man, right? How many women do we know that are with men that cheat on them constantly and still are being faithful? They still got the respect of that man. Why? For some reason they're broken. That's another conversation. We can talk about it another time. But they haven't stepped out. You know what I'm saying to you? But I also understand what he's saying, which is, let's not frame it only that women cheat because of disrespect. The reason why they cheat is because, again, there's an emotional lacking of connection between themselves and that man. Either way, cheating is as a byproduct, I believe, of emotional disconnection. Personally, men cheat because they're emotionally disconnected to that partner. Call it what you want about, it's because of the temptation. No, Negro. If you learn how to be emotionally connected, you will see that that's a problem. When you give your life to Christ, he starts teaching you these things about to see things in a different perspective. But when I was not without Christ, I would look at the way that Sadia looks at it. I look at it more where Matthew looks at it, but I also understand where Sadia's coming from, because I think a lot of people do think of it that way. And then I do think people do actually act in that way as well.
Or getting inside their relationship. I mean, how many women are with men that are never present? Who don't show up for them, who, are workaholic, obsessed with their business, obsessed with something else. And then all of a sudden they find that they develop an emotional connection with someone on the outside that maybe started innocently enough, but that emotional connection turned into something more.
And now let's pause it. What he just said there about obviously there being emotional connection doesn't really deter from what Sadia's saying, because what she's saying is, yeah, okay, cool, but they've lost respect for the person. They can now be emotionally disconnected, and then when they're emotionally disconnected, women are going to turn to disrespect. And disrespect is now the cheating. So it's very hard for that. It's very hard for that woman then to want to come back to that man, because remember, in her mind, how I think Sadia's kind of saying it is that yes, we are emotionally disconnected, but we also lost the respect aspect. So now we're cheating physically. See, if you cheated emotionally, I can understand that, but physical, allowing another Negro to come up inside of you, that's a lot. You know what I'm saying to you? Okay, so I can understand what she's saying. I think they're both saying the same thing, just come from different sides of the track. But I understand why he doesn't like the framing. I can work with that. I understand.
I don't. It's a very male picture in some ways you're painting of women.
Yeah.
This idea that they are essentially just, you know, they don't. It comes from a place of essentially disrespect and contempt for their man, and it's just a bit of sex on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's some of those, but it feels like we're missing a giant archetype there, which is the woman who is craving connection.
And I think that's a great word there Matthew's used. It's an archetype. And this is why I always like these conversations, because I think when we don't have a nuance to a conversation, we cause a lot more damage and carnage. There are archetypes of men and women that cheat for different reasons, right? There's a woman that will cheat because financially she's not feeling safe, but that's because there's a wound financially. There's some trauma there in her childhood. There is a woman that cheats because of emotional connection. There's a woman that cheats because of sexual satisfaction. There's a woman that cheats because she doesn't feel safe. But there are archetypes of women and men that cheat. And I think that's why the conversation needs to have a nuance to it. And that's why I love these kind of things where they can have a back and forth, because different points of view allow for a more holistic understanding. Because me personally, I'm not on either side. I see both of them. I'm like, yeah, women cheat because of emotional connection. But I also know that they cheat because of this. They don't have the respect for the man anymore. So going back to that man, you ain't going back to him anymore. Right? If you did go back to him, you're going to struggle because another man has been inside of you and has connected with you in a particular type of way.
Emotional connection?
Yeah, emotional connection.
And
that's the precursor to a physical connection.
So would you say the fault lies in the man not meeting her needs, or in the cheater herself?
Now, that's a really good question. I can't lie to you. She got man on that one, you know, and I think that's where we should leave it. I think we'll do a part 2. I don't want anybody to go on too long. That's a really good question by Sadia. Like, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Because the way he framed it at the very beginning was like, well, there's women out here who are cheating because a man didn't do X, Y, and Z. Do I agree with what Sadia said? I do believe that men often, I personally believe that a lot of times when it comes to cheating in a relationship, a man ain't doing something. I do believe that a lot of times. Right? Because you chose that woman because you thought that she was fidelitous and a responsible woman. I think a lot of times men do stuff that prompts that woman to want to cheat. You understand what I'm saying to you? That's just my personal opinion. So if my woman's cheating, what have I not done? Or what am I, failing to do? In the relationships where obviously one person cheated, obviously, I knew I wasn't doing something. I already knew that. I knew my sex game was not on point, and I knew that we were emotionally disconnected. And I think women, but then I always say as well, women know are very smart and clever. They may not cheat through the relationship. They might use a break to cheat. There's too many times where women have done that to me. And I not to me, but I've seen that when I've done that with other women, like they might cheat with like, oh, when a break. How many man them? Comment down below. How many women are out here who have cheated because they're on a break? It's one of them ones there, fam. That's why I don't do breaks anyway. But we'll come back to another one. I appreciate you guys.